Hey folks, I'm Red Monster SC, and today we are getting our first look at the RSI Arrastra, a brand new mining ship from RSI that was just premiered on ISC. I have not watched the episode yet. We're going in dry, and I'm going to be reacting to that live as I see it. Now, this is the brand new mining ship announced from RSI. We voted on the ship manufacturer for this during CitizenCon's 2952 John Cruz Pick a Ship event, where the community decided on which manufacturer was going to be producing the ship. It fits between the Mole and the Orion as far as gameplay, so it's going to have a larger crew, and at least based on the name, I'm expecting some unique gameplay coming out of it. So let's dive in, get that reaction for the new RSI Arrastra.
Last year for CitizenCon, we did a vote to decide what vehicle you wanted to see next, and the winner was the mining ship. So what we ended up doing is the large RSI mining ship, which has turned out to be the RSI Arrastra.
What is Arrastra?
Absolutely no idea.
Primitive mill that's used in grinding ores, I think.
The name Arrastra derives from the ancient mining tool and technique.
So in Star Citizen, we have a...
So if you haven't seen that, they've got like a wheel that drags a stone around. It's kind of interesting. I only found out about it through this, but kind of those primitive techniques are interesting.
Number of mining ships already. We've got the Prospector, which is kind of like your starter hour.
Which, by the way, anybody who owns a Prospector right now, it's not in a great place because all of the rocks, like you're skipping 6 times as many as you're able to mine.
Mole is that kind of first multi-crew ship. It allows you to go out with a few friends and kind of try and work a profit together. And then the top of the scale, we've got the Orion. That's the kind of end game of mining. And we saw this gap.
So let's just, for a quick review, the Orion has a very different look to the ship based on what we're seeing. But, you know, the initial leaks, maybe the front end might line up a little bit.
That's the kind of end.
They're going to be completely different design languages as they get into this Arrastra
game of mining, and we saw this gap between the two. So the RSI Arrastra is the ship that fills that gap.
So initial front profile, that looks really interesting. Nice RSI design language is really clear here.
So the Arrastra kind of combines the core visual elements that we've kind of...
Okay, so, I mean, we've got the cockpit here, big nacelles on the back. As far as the size of the ship, it's hard to tell, but like you've got some turrets, things here on the side. These look like they're cargo chutes, and it looks like there's a 2x2 grid on each of those, so maybe a 4x. So, looks pretty large.
Kind of developed over the years of RSI. It still has that definite triangular arrowhead shape to it, so it still feels at home within the RSI family. One of the things we struggled with.
All right, a little bit better look. Those, I think the cargo pod's a little bit clearer here. So yeah, we've got a cockpit up here. It looks like kind of a mouth. This almost looks like the Vulture with the arms that jet forward. And I'm assuming this is like a tractor beam nozzle or something. Again, a couple of turrets. We see 2 turrets on the side, the one on the back, and just really great angles. Kind of reminiscent of the Galaxy, which is exciting because like they're doing the Galaxy and the Polaris, all with those capital ships. I think it's going to be able to take a lot of that development and the design they do on those ships and bring it into this vehicle.
With a little bit at the beginning, when concepting it, we didn't want it to feel too sleek. It really needs to feel like it had a functional purpose, and that really led us down, exposing a lot more of the industrial elements. We've built on the idea.
Okay, so here, this is interesting. I didn't see that at the beginning. So it looks like at the front we've got 3 lasers going, one on the center, left and right, and that's a pretty large rock it's going after.
Idea of RSI layering in their ships to kind of really expose the core framework of the ship down the central kind of columns.
It also has a much more comfortable habitation for the crew to live on. It's got plenty of utility on board for day-to-day life, as well as a place to actually land additional vehicles in the back.
you got 2 gray cat rocks in there. So you
It has
have
everything you need
hangar.
to spend a large amount of time away from dock, away from
Mess
station.
halls. We
It's
love
got
those.
an onboard refinery. It's got
Okay, onboard refinery. So you got some terminals, side 1 and side 2.
a large.
And this is probably the viewport out of the front of the ship there. So whatever ores get brought in, you'll have this is going to be an exciting place to hang out. A lot of times you talk about engineering bays and things like that. They're just enclosed. They don't have a lot of great visibility. If this has that view right out the front to where the rocks are being broken in, they're kind of being pulled in, it's going to be a very dynamic view. And I'm the type that I can stare out the window for hours.
Large amount of ore storage as well as onboard cargo. It's a kind of big, serious mining ship, and it allows for a crew of up to 5 to kind of go out.
Okay, a crew of 5. We see the 3 laser turrets basically, and these look beefy, right? Compared to the Mole, they're not manned, so they're going to be unmanned. It looks like there's no way to fit somebody in there. We do see people walking around that might just be scale models. I doubt you'd have to put somebody out in EVA to run that.
Out and really kind of step into that professional level mining outfit without requiring, a big capital ship.
We have multiple stations
Okay, let's hear this.
for different people to actually mine at the same time as each other.
They're all sat together in a very RSI-like bridge section.
The bridge
The
looks
remote
really great.
turrets that are on the Arrastra all have some level of transformation in terms of their location. The 2 at the front can slide backwards and forwards along, so you don't require the pilot to have to go left a bit, go right a bit.
Oh my god. Thank you. As a Mole operator who constantly has to readjust my ship, it's such a pain in the butt. But
Then we also
mobility
have
there.
a large one in the center, which can descend through the middle of the ships.
Can actually transform down through the ship and out the bottom to cover the underside. So really you can mine in 360 degrees with this ship.
And as it cuts through the ship, you can actually see the turret as it travels from one side to the other.
And then additional crew members can help either position the ship if they want to change location or deal with the mined goods at the rim.
Okay, so this is like an upper area of the bridge looking down into a hangar. I hope they keep this. That's kind of like the Taurus, the Constellation series, where you've got that cargo bay, you have the catwalks around. Very
Of the ship in the cargo bay. But the ship can also hold ground mining vehicles. If you are planet side, some of those crew members can.
I love that they put the Rock DS models in there. Obviously, it's great that the Rock DS fits, but as far as useless vehicles in the verse, absolutely useless.
Take mining vehicles that you've stored aboard out and do some surface mining whilst the ship hangs around nearby to tackle some ground mining rocks. So this ship is really perfectly placed for people who want to go mining but don't quite know what they're going to encounter along.
So knowing that, the upper turret lowers, those make sense. It's interesting. They do say they can move forward and backward. It didn't show the range of motion here. I'm assuming you're going to be stuck between about where this RSI logo is at and the front. But we'll have to see. It may be that these are, extending arms.
Along the way, they are equipped to tackle anything on the surface, anything on space.
One of the benefits of concepting the Arrastra now is that we know a lot more about our game, a lot more about how mining works and kind of features in the game. That gives us a much better understanding of what's important for a mining ship. And that's one of the things that we'll take on to when we kind of deliver the Orion in the future.
So this is a great example of how development on some ships improves and expedites others. Compared to the Orion, this bridges the gap in a few nice ways. It leverages all the existing mining loops and mechanics that we have in game at the moment, whereas the Orion is going to be solely...
I think a lot of people voted for RSI to be the manufacturer here solely because the RSO, it would help deliver the RSI Orion quicker. It would bridge that gap within a very consistent design language, and it's going to be interesting there.
Mining in space, it is a big ship designed for sitting out in deep space, mining big asteroids. It won't be capable of going down to planet size and mining on there.
What we kind of learned from the Orion is that a lot of our RSI ships feel very, very aggressive. They feel very military and fast. And if you think of like a big industrial mining ship, the Orion is kind of the opposite to that. It's this huge kind of bulky ship that is very purpose-built. And what we wanted to do with the Arrastra is take the lessons that we'd learned from that and combine that with some of the more modern RSI art styles and manufacturing techniques.
The Arrastra is the sort of all-in-one mining ship. You've started hand mining at the very start. You've progressed to, say, a rock as the next step, then a prospector, then a mole. This is the big step that lets you do a bit of everything. You can mine, you can refine, you can transport. And then if you want to go even deeper into that, then you go off to the Orion at the end.
Yeah.
So what did we learn this week?
So let's go back here to where it started off. A couple of key pieces. First, the overall design. I like the look. You know, they talk about the cargo bay. So you've got living spaces. It looks like they said a crew of up to 5. So that's it doesn't look like there's a separate captain's quarters.
For the crew to live on. It's
you've got the bunks and then the one on the side. So there's not like a separate captain's quarters like there is in the Carrack. We see a vehicle bay that can handle 2 rock DSs. Obviously, you're going to get out and do a little bit of that. Ground mining, it will have the VTOL transformation with those nacelles to get things in. Keep looking here. And yeah, here's the view. I think this is also open up to another deck. They've shown a couple of these where it's like kind of cut away. The mess hall, again, the angled walls, very typical of RSI. Now, this is different. This is actually, I think, the front area, the front bay, which, if I'm gonna guess, it might be below, just below the. It'd be interesting to see what the layout cutaways are, because they don't have this. They don't have this populated with the Gray Cat rocks, and we see maybe the upper level
cargo. It's a kind of big, serious mining ship, and it allows for a crew of up to 5 to kind of go out and really kind of step into that professional level mining outfit without requiring a big capital ship.
We have multiple stations for different.
So this is the bridge area that's up on the very top of the ship, and let's take a look here. So we see
capital ship.
We have
1, 2, 3. It looks like so.
Multiple stations
just
for different
the 2
people.
Side stations, but then you've got the co-pilot and the pilot. I'd expect the side stations and the co-pilot to be able to have control of each of those remote laser turrets, and the pilot may be positioned so they can have like the remote defensive turrets, or these might be a multi-purpose.
Mine at the same time as each other.
They're all sat together in a very RSI-like bridge section. The remote turrets that are on the Arrastra,
And the other thing I
RSI-like
wanted to,
bridge.
it doesn't look like these are going to be open. They might have glass there.
Section. The
model
remote
is hard
turrets
to
that
tell
are on
right
the
now.
Arrastra all have some level of transformation in terms of their location. The 2 at the front can slide backwards and forwards along, so you don't require the pilot to have to go left a bit, go right a bit.
But then we also have a.
Okay, and then the cargo pods. So we see each of these chutes has 8 cargo pods. Where are some of the exteriors? Go back and so 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 up top. So we're talking what, 32, 64. Plus, I did see some others. It's gonna be interesting how those fill up. And the fact that it's accessible, maybe you're going to be able to load up a whole C from there, have somebody with a tractor beam moving those away. An exposed cargo storage might be a bit of a risk.
It really needs to feel like it had a functional purpose, and that really led us down exposing a lot more of the industrial elements. We've built on the idea.
All right, back through here.
Away from dock, away from station. It has everything.
Yeah, and that showed a little bit clearly, more clearly there.
Additional vehicles in the back.
That cargo bay, or the vehicle bay.
It has everything you need to
open up. There's a toilet, shower. You can kind of see their placeholders.
spend a large amount of time away from dock, away from station. It's got an onboard refinery. It's got a
So you're gonna have 2 separate refineries, it looks like, with engineering terminals at each, and then of course that that view from the front, this is maybe where you're gonna find me hanging out most of the time, aside from the pilot seat, because absolutely, this view here, coming in and watching just kind of the action happen, the rocks being broken down.
Large amount of ore storage as well as onboard cargo. It's a kind of big, serious mining ship, and it allows for a crew of up to 5.
It does look like a very serious mining
and
ship.
really kind of step into that professional level mining outfit without requiring, you know, a big capital ship.
These
we have
lasers
multiple
are probably
stations
size
for different
3,
people to
right?
actually. Then we also have,
Require the pilots to have to go left a bit, go right a bit.
but then we also have a large.
Just looking at that, it's got a twin beam, which is unique. We haven't seen that yet. And looking at the size here, these are far and above. You know, it's kind of hard to tell in this coloring, but yeah, that's going to be probably our size 3, kind of bridging that gap up to the Orion. I'd expect the range to be pretty aggressive. I hope that they do that, because you're going to be basically parking this in the middle of like a cluster of asteroids and breaking them all down. I feel like this is like a clear-cut mining operation. I don't think we're going to have these that are like grinding rocks down necessarily. We're still going to be like laser beams and managing power that way, at least from what the concept images show. I don't see this being something where it like goes and grinds up the asteroids.
One in the center, which can descend through the middle of the ships.
Can actually transform down through the ship and out the bottom to cover
That's just a
through the ship and out the bottom.
Okay, so that's like an elevator shaft, like the glass elevator shaft. You can watch one side or another. It's good to see the people walking back and forth. That center turret's
To cover
really
the underside, so really you can mine in 360
like
degrees with this ship.
And as it cuts through the ship, you can actually see the turret as it travels from one side to the other.
And then additional crew members can help either position the ship if they want to change location.
Okay, and the stairs from either side, that's at the back. I'm not quite sure what this backs up into.
Or deal with the mined goods.
Your component bay is up at the top.
Or deal with the mined goods at the rear of the ship in the cargo bay. But the ship can also hold ground mining vehicles. If you are planet side, some of those crew members could take mining vehicles that you've stored aboard out and do so.
Okay, and we see additional cargo underneath. These look like detachable cargo pods. And just looking at the scale of this, like, yeah, they say it's not a capital ship.
Surface mining whilst the ship hangs around.
This is Hammerhead
nearby
Plus
to tackle some ground mining rocks. So this ship is really perfectly placed for.
And can we just, for a minute, there's some blue highlights on here. The livery they've got, the black underbelly, the white shell like kind of panels, and the blue highlights look good. I'd prefer it in red if they've got one, but I do like that charcoal and kind of middle gray.
People who want to go
Looks
mining
like a great ship.
but don't quite know what they're going to encounter along the way, they are equipped to tackle anything on the surface, anything on space.
Now is that we know a lot more about our game, a lot more about how mining works, some kind of features in the game. That gives us a much better understanding
here in the concept with
manufacturing techniques.
The Arrastra is the sort of all-in-one mining ship. You've started hand mining at the very start. You've progressed to, say, a rock as the next step, then a prospector, then a mole. This is the big step that lets you do a bit of everything. You can mine, you can refine, you can transport.
Yeah, great looking lines there. The different angles there help it pick up the light, and that's you got to commend CIG on designing great looking spaceships in like any situation.
And then if you want to go even deeper into that,
this is the shot. So hopefully you'll be able to sit there, park it in the middle of a large asteroid cluster, and then just start breaking through. This is, with the 3 separate turrets, definitely a cooperative. The concept doesn't show much detail there, but I think you're going to have larger rocks that are going to need that. And based on at least the size of this is not, and of course it's all concept images, but this isn't our typical, mostly round potato looking asteroids. it's a lot larger chunks. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops with the gameplay there. It seems like the majority of the gameplay is going to be the laser beams and power management. So that's nothing too groundbreaking, nothing that needs like core development necessarily, but we'll need to see how that plays out when they get the ship delivered to us, along with the gameplay that it's supposed to take part in. All right, so let's summarize what we've learned. First off, the Arrastra has a crew of 5. I believe that's going to include a pilot, a refining engineer, and then 3 remote laser operators. As far as the living quarters, they're all shared space, so there's no separate captain's quarters like we've seen with the Carrack. There are going to be 3 remote laser turrets controlled from the bridge. Those are going to have a lot of location transformation, so they'll be able to reposition and not necessarily have to move the ship around. I think that's going to be key, because when you're in a larger ship, maneuvering is a bit of a pain, and especially if you're in the middle of an asteroid cluster, you might have clearance issues with a ship this large. So hopefully that's going to be addressed with the mobility of the turrets. The 2 side turrets are going to move forward and backwards along an axis, at least from what we've seen. It seems like there's limited space, so we'll have to see what the final models look like. But then also the center turret flips from the top of the ship down to the bottom, and that actually, as it makes that transition from top to bottom, you can watch through what I'm assuming is basically a glass elevator shaft that that laser, kind of mounting the entire thing will go up and down through. 2 separate decks on the interior where you can watch that. I think that's gonna be great. So good job on that detail. And then yeah, I'd say this is going to operate similar to the Mole as far as the laser turrets themselves, just being remote, but on a larger scale. So the size 3 laser turrets, the laser heads on those look unique, but not so unique that they're going to need entirely new gameplay. I think just the assets, we're still going to be probably managing laser power with an interface we're similar to. As far as my final thoughts, I think it's got the clear RSI design language, both the exterior and the interior. That's one thing I've been rather impressed with, going back even to the first ship shape I saw on the Constellation series. It's clearly an RSI ship, but it has enough of a difference there that it captures the industrial, almost Spartan look. We see this scaling up the existing mining gameplay without inventing new gameplay methods that need to be defined and roadmapped. I think we're still going to be laser turrets, managing power, fracturing rocks, similar to how we have done in the past. There was some discussion about it potentially being a bulk grinder. I'm glad we haven't gone that way, just because that means we're going to get that gameplay delivered sooner. I feel like this does define the step up to the Orion class mining gameplay, and we'll hopefully see some of that translate. Obviously, we don't quite know for sure how the Orion class mining, that capital class, is going to look. And honestly, if it's just shooting lasers at larger rocks, good. We need to see how the rocks break as they're larger pieces. If maybe the maelstrom system comes into play, where these rocks are going to break apart into sub-fragments that are then manageable and more familiar shaped. And it's clear that they've taken to heart some of the lessons learned from previous ships, like the mobility for those turrets being an issue. Unfortunately, we don't yet know what the price is. We're going to have to wait till Saturday to find that out. And let's hear your thoughts. Do you think that it looks industrial enough to be unique within the RSI fleet of ships? Which features stood out most to you during the preview that we did get? And finally, what's your guess on the pledge price? Let's leave your guesses in the comments below. And of course, watch for the official brochure on Saturday. And of course, the ship Q&A hopefully a few days after that. I'm impressed with what I've seen so far, and I'm excited to learn more. See you guys around.